So I tried maybe through architecture to visualize this dream or this ideals or this ethics. Sometimes I succeed, sometimes I couldn't reach my goal, because architecture is not building. It's you're talking about social structure. You're talking about knowledge, about values. It's not just to build skyscraper or what happens in our region. So it's how to feel with people, how to avoid this segregation between rich and poor, because we are living in cities where the poor feel they have become more poorer, and the richer become dictators, the richer, or the ones who own these skyscrapers. In our culture, in Islam, we haven't find this let's say, difference between rich and poor, because our cities, the public space was a place for all. You would never sense who live behind this wall. I mean, so there's an ethical skin. I don't think that our cities try to adopt this ethics in the skin, because the public space for me is another house. I mean, it's another home without roof. It's another living room, another salon, another kitchen without a ceiling. So always, when I discuss maybe by our clients some proposals of master plans, I ask myself, did the planner think about how he designed the sky of the city to design it, not just to look at it as a leftover space? So sadly saying that most of the planners, they look on the materializing the object, the masses, without giving enough, let's say, effort about what happens with the void outside this mass. So I was trying to look to the void as the other home, the other house. When we go back to our culture, I mean, in the old city like Aleppo, Cairo, Baghdad, Fas, Marrakesh, the house created or resembles a microcity, because it has, there's the indoor for the private activity, or to feel that you are private, you have your own life, and then you have the outdoor, the courtyards for women, courtyards for men, courtyards for servants. So you are creating, these houses become the micro-urban, the micro-cities. So from that, I took this kind of slogan that our city become not the big home, the big bait, or the big house. So maybe in my let's say, presentation, I will go through it, but I will shock you maybe before I got in that particular subject. Look to this image. Try to remember it, because I will explain it later on how it comes. Now, if I want to say, if I'm standing in front of you, I have thanks to my late father. My father is a great artist in Islamic art. He was one of the genius artists according to the UNESCO statement. When you look to his work, you know this is Jamal Badran work. There's a balance. There's a visual peaceful, balanced composition. This is one of his work. وقل ربي زدني علما. I ask him every time what happens with why he put these plans in this void. He told me, I want to create a visual balance between the mass and the background, the mass and the void. Now, this sketch here, it has also a big story, but this actually needs a whole lecture about what this presents. These are sketches done just in minutes. Even the technique for sketches have changed. In the maybe 20 years back, I was putting more effort when I doing aquarelle. You know, my language is very bad. I studied in Germany. I mastered the German language. I forgot Arabic and English, and then I came back to Jordan. I have to speak English. So sometimes I felt confused what kind of language I have to express. So my language was the visual, the sketches, where anybody from Japan, from China can understand the idea behind this project, how it can be analyzed in a sketch form. That's why my work became well known in Harvard, MIT, through my sketches, because I try to create a narrative through eye, not through reading. So through the visual or through the eye perception, you can understand what behind this idea, how it's being created, how it's being the dialogue in a way. So this is actually a sketch of the, I don't know if you are familiar with the holy city, Medina, which, where you have the Masjid Muhammad Mosque. It's a huge, like Mecca. All pilgrims go to Medina and Mecca. Now the mosque, which was done 10 years back, it's about 400 meter long and 200 meter wide. They plan to enlarge it to 900 meter long and 500 meter wide. But thanks God that King Salman stopped the whole process. So they asked us to meet in Istanbul. They invited people from Harvard, MIT, and myself. And so this was my interference. I told them why this is actually the existing mosque now, where people can live with it in a way. But not if you are talking about the new one, the new one look will have this kind of mass. So I told them, why you don't divert the mosque to become a city and city become a mosque? So people can pray in these voids, so they can walk freely. They feel humanized. It's not you are not in front of the Peking wall, the Beijing wall. I mean, it's inhumane. I think they like it, but nothing happened. Thanks God. So in that composition, I was comparing both. How we feel that there's some kind of a harmony between the mass and the void. When you have half eye closed, you feel okay. It works. You feel relaxed. There's nothing to be shocked about it. The distribution is quite equal, like this ornament. So I want to just jump because it will take maybe more time to talk about it. But I think so. I have to get back to my father. Who is this guy? He studied art in Egypt, 1915, and then he got scholarship. He lived in that time in Palestine. He got from the English mandate a scholarship to study art again in the Royal College of Art in London, 1930. So he was the first Palestinian to study art in that level, and he was gifted. So this is, this when he was in UK. So he has English friends. You can see the car here. Which year? I mean, I think it's, he even moved from Haifa to I think, to Liverpool by ship. Planes were in that time difficult. When I went to Germany, I took the what they call it, the Middle East Express from Aleppo to. It took five days. It was a big event, and there's a film, Turkish film, heist Yol. It has got the I think an award in Nice or Cannes. The venue was in that train. It's amazing. This alone this needs a lecture. What happened in that train? Anyhow. So my father, this is one of my drawings. I use pencil, ink, and aquarelle. Some people, when you look to his face, they compare him with Hassan Fathy. I mean, he had the same. He died in the age of 94, actually. And the Badran family has something significant. Most of the old people died after 100 years, 101, 102. So I hope that God will give me time to, although we are living in hard time. Their time was so like angel. I mean, now we're living in a very, you see this image here in the left, in the right hand side is the big drawing of the, he was commissioned by UNESCO to draw the burned pulpit of Saladin mosque in 1968. So there was a choice either to bring people from Turkey, from Pakistan, from Egypt, but he was the only one nominated by UNESCO to be the one who has the capability to get back to this drawing. So it was done by his own, by freehand, 5 years, 3,000 hours. And I don't know how he did it. I mean, he told me there's some kind of relation between you and the spiritual, this spiritual level, he have it. Okay. This is my work. After he passed away, I tried to you know, I don't want to modernize the Kufi writing, but I tried to do exercise. Can I do something to improve or to go further with this writing where you combine beauty with meaning and clarity, and alhamdulillah. So, and the eye also move from up, down, or horizontal. So there's the eye moving when you are reading. I did exercise of when you are Bismillah, how you can put it in different configuration, and the eye will move in different angles. But I haven't got here because I want to make it short. My son told me, Baba, please make your lecture short. So I don't want to disappoint him. Maybe Hussam, he told me, why you make it? No, I think it's enough, because sometimes each image will have a lot to talk about. Now I was born in Jerusalem. This is one of my sketches. Usually I do sketches from memory. I never did something as lifestyle, what do you call it? Still life. I mean, I look to things and get back and try to, how I memorize, restore the image in my mind and soul, and try to spell it out through my sketches. That's why I found this is very important, even when you talk about heritage. I can say that when you are living in a rich heritage cities, the artists in these cities, they couldn't get out from this influence of that heritage. Yeah, there's some kind of a dictatorship of this image. But when you go there and then you get away from it, you start to rethink, to re-meditate. And some people told me you did the same like this Palestinian writer and philosopher who was in UK, in England, in USA. I have to, because in Pakistan they told me you are behaving the same like Edward Said. When he gets away from the shark, he starts talking about the shark. So the best way is when you see things, okay, go there. There's a shock. This shock will influence you, and you stir all kinds of senses in your mind, in your soul, in your you leave that place with a lot of questions. So this continuous question creates the ideas. Because when you are living further in Cairo, you are influenced by the Mamlukis, you start copying it in a way. And this was a hard discussion with Abdul Halim. Dr. Abdul Halim, he is a dear friend. I hope that he will, because he is now suffering from very, very hard, and he's like my grand brother. I learned from him a lot now, we lived actually near Jerusalem in a small city called village called Ramallah. Now Ramallah is the capital of the self-ruling what they call it government, or it's become a big city. In that time it was a small village. This was our house. I was 4 years old when I did my first aquarelle. And this is the bus. Now I have problem in that time how I can draw things in a proper perspective. So when we moved from Palestine, we go to Damascus. It was a city, so I was very busy about how I can express the city from outside, and how I can also transform this kind of shock in our private home. So I asked my father, I want to draw something from inside, how I can do that. So within minutes, he told me about the vanishing point and perspective, and I got it. And for me, this was the moment when I felt myself, the world was open for me. And here I started drawing. Maybe I have more than 1,000 drawings. And James here told me, Rasem, try to publish books about your drawings from 4 years old till now. It covers many things. I mean, about the body of autonomy, about plans, about technology. I will show it to you, and architecture also. I mean, so this is actually our studio in Damascus. You see the perspective, and this Damascus with its buses and when I was 10 years old, always I accompany my father when we go to the market. This is in Tripoli, the capital of Kingdom of Libya in the time of Sanusi. This was in the 50s. It was a very nice city. It was designed by the Italian planner. So I go there, I get back home, and I try to draw what I have seen. So this is actually the public realm. This is the public space, how I envision it in my sketches. In that time, I was not thinking to be an architect. I was just trying to transform what I have felt, what I have sensed, to transform it to a visual statement or the visual perception in a way. And this is actually one of the state visits of King Abdulaziz to Tripoli. I think this was 1955, some of that. Also, I look at it from bird eye view in my, and then get back and then draw it. Surely it's not exactly presenting the actual, but this is actually the idea of looking at things, store it, and then try to spit it out. And because we traveled in that time when I was a kid, the airplane was for me a magic machine. I mean, first time I took the plane to a DC-3, to twin engine. It was funny. And then I did also some details about the buses who crossed the Sahara, in Kuwait. So I was busy with these details. I think I was 12 years old. I mean, this is the way how I looked like, I think. And then later on, I start constructing planes, remote control. I mean, this is I designed it aeronautically. And then this is the Hovercraft, and it works. And sometimes it falls and broken, because always in balsa wood. And this is one piston engine. This is the English, you know it. Now they use it by this, what they call it, remote controlled planes, small planes, but bigger. And also in Tripoli, because Tripoli was hosted the biggest airbase, American airbase, after I think it's the biggest air base in the Mediterranean. It was in Tripoli. So we used to have battleship visiting the city, and we visited this device, and then I get back to home and start, drawing what I have seen. So this was my world, actually. I was not a guy who played basketball or football. I mean, I was thin, I was weak. I mean, it's يعني مش ابن الحارة, what they call it. يعني هيك. When I was 17 years old, I decided to design a hovercraft with all its details. I mean, so this was actually my dream, to go in the aeronautic design. I never thought about architecture or building. I was always thinking about flying objects. And I do it very, with honesty. I want to study the jet engine, the turboprop, and how the air will go through what they call it, it's a hovercraft. I know what the hovercraft, how it works. Yeah. So you find all details, and there's a list of all details. I mean, what it means. The story with airplanes started when I was 7 years old. This was my first pick. And then 2 years later, 1955, I was 10 years old. I was really obsessed by how the plane being built in the factory. So this is actually another sketch. And then the Vickers found Viscount, the British legacy, the turboprop. Because I use it we use it in our flight when we go to Egypt. It's a very, I mean, genius plane. I mean, so I just imagine how the plane can be built. I was, I think, 16 years old. And then I designed my own plane. I mean, how it can be built also. So really, till now, I am obsessed by the airplane design. And once Zaha, when she saw that, she told me, Tablas, why you building a cubicle? Because we are trying to live with this very simple form. I don't like to stand in front of an airplane and to live with it. So, okay, I mean, this is the way how I look to architecture, I mean. So, and even I thought about why we design a bus in the rainy weather, where the bus can, I have to take my other, maybe it works. Yeah, so this is Boeing 707. Also, heck, just in the rainy weather. So this bus, I designed it to take the people from the plane, and then they get back to go to in the terminals. So it has to do also with cars. And then during our trips to Europe, I visit the train terminale in Rome. I was really fun by the trains, different types of trains. When you get back to Tripoli, I draw it. Also, I did some research about rocket base for battleship. Yeah, I was in a way industrial designer about the industry. I want to design the form, and I love it. I love the metal. I love the glass. I don't know why I became architect. This is sometimes sometimes it confuses me. Did I did the right decision or not? I think when I was 16 years old, I saw in Tripoli a film of the Titanic, the Italian film. And when I get back home, I was really touched by the film. So I tried to draw it again from how I memorized it took maybe. I put it in portion. I never did the sketch in one term. I give half an hour today, maybe in other 3 days I complete. So I want us to memorize what I have seen. Yeah. And even through our traveling to Italy, this is in Venice, I was fond with Beethoven, because Beethoven for me was the reason why I went to Germany, because of Beethoven. I asked myself, I never thought about MIT, Harvard, Cambridge. I asked how I got to a place where this place created genius in art and music. And Beethoven for me was very, crucial. Sometimes my ear tears when eyes when I hear some of his pieces. When you analyze the deep contrabass, and he has the art of creating sound. Some people look hear Beethoven as a music. No, I got in the technique of creating sound. This is very important by Beethoven. So this is actually one of his concerts, I think. So when we went back to our home in Tripoli, I drew it. By the way, my father gave me, every time when I do a drawing, he gave me money. So I was making business with him. So this is another side. I said for the first time. Now, for some reason, many people told me, Rasem, why you don't go to Europe and study aeronautic design and go to USA? And I thought, if I go to Europe, then I will not get back. So I will lose contact to my Arab countries. So I asked myself, maybe if I can divert this capability to the earth design, not the air design. To be on the earth, to do something of meaning. So I examined myself before I went to Germany. So I decided to design the airport of Jerusalem. So I did the whole concept before I go to the academia to to see, do I fit to be an architect or not? This is actually, if not, then I have to go to something else. So this is the airport of Jerusalem, influenced by the rock of the dome. I give more time to build these planes. And my father told me, I mean, now forget about the planes. Now it doesn't work because I have to put the plane to feel the scale of the plane in front of the building. Sometimes people think that I was mad, but I think I was happy. I mean, I forgot hours without feeling how many hours. Sometimes I spent the whole night working. There's a passion. And sometimes I ask myself, do we have passion to what we are doing? That's a big question. So I went to Germany, and really I thanks God that I went there because I went at the time of the students' movement. And I participated in it very heavily, and I was a troublemaker. And the German told me, you are foreigners, so you can be spelled out because you are doing things against the academic rules. And there was the leftist group. I was from that time of the Beatles. You know, it was a time, and really it was a golden time in Europe. I mean, everything changed. So I was part of it. So this was let's say, the environment. Now go to the lecture hall in Germany. People are okay, still quiet. They look to their Hindi, or what they call it, mobile. Hindi is the German language. So Darmstadt is the city where Neufert was professor, and many students draw his work. So sometimes the old Neufert books, they put some note. Students of that faculty, they did all these kind of drawings by hand in that time. This was 1960, I think, 3 or 62. Now, during this period, 1968, for me it was a great jump. We've been opposing the very static, the very boring academic concept, how people teach the students, the professors. So we found some leftist tutors, and we did a small عصابة يعني bandit or gangs, and we decided to do things the way we think about that is the right one. So one of my turning point in my life was this work. Why? Because Darmstadt used to carry what they call it, a Ferian course, what they call it in English as well, summer course for avant-garde music every year. They collect people from all over the world, mathematicians, physicians, music designers, like Moritz Kagel, Stockhausen, Pierre Boulez. They get in this 1 month deliberation about how they can improve the sound. So we joined them, because we did what they call the amphitheater, or the theater of the Zukunft. It's a phonometric structure. You build and it go, and the process of building this theater become for itself a theater, like the tent of the Cirque. When you go to when you watch how they build it, the tents of the Cirque structure, people like to look at it, but this becomes technology, because you are doing rings which can be placed up, and then you see things going up. So this is actually a model I did, and it was filmed by the German TV because they like it. So this was my after I passed the RIBA 1, let's say, this RIBA 2. It was very controversial. Many professors, they refuse it, but others, they like it. So I was in between two different opposing groups and then I did the airport of Amman. This was one of my sketches, and then my diploma work was the Kuwait city above the city. We met Yona Friedman, and I got in this the highest mark, and it was published by the French magazine Ashtou Aujourd'hui, AA. It was the first time that a French magazine published a work of a student. So to me, this wasn't, let's say, an canon, what do you call it? statement that I did something unique. So this was this theater project. We were 8 students. It was published in a book, and here you can see the name of the name. Oh, okay, the name of the music conductor: Karl-Heinz Braun, Maurizio Kagel, Charles Morevitz. When you hear their product, you get mad. It's all there's anti-rhythmic. You are talking about what they call it مساحة إيش مساحة يعني yeah plain the one who did he was very genius. He was George Ligeti, who did the music for Odessa 2001. And we sit with him nights and talking about the sound, how you can transform the human sound to something very metaphysical, very spiritual. So for me, this was actually. So these are the plans of this project. How this project can be spread out in the city, how it can be. We designed even the small trucks because everything is mobile. It's like a cirque. It's a cirque project, but a very sophisticated. Or even in the city, you can involve the whole city using the public spaces to become interactive. Actually, we are dreaming, yeah, but we enjoy it. This is Yona Friedman. He came to us, and we did a lot of discussion with him. And this was my Kuwait project. And then later on, after 20 years, the same place in Kuwait, they put it as a competition to design it. So they want to restructure the old city of Kuwait. And then I proposed to create another skin where people can live in that skin. So they told me, you are mad. I mean, but it's just a story because I did it in 1969, and then 2001, the same place has been again been taken as project, but nothing happened. I mean, it was just, but we enjoy the idea of giving it something mad. I mean, it has to do also with the air movement, with the ecology. So it's a climatical approach because Kuwait is very hot, 63 sometimes it reached the. And then we participated. We established a small office with my tutor. He is leftist. He has now very nice work in Frankfurt. So we established an office, and then we've been invited for what's called elemental housing competition, and it was built. The Germans want to show themselves that they are the people of technology. So the idea is to combine 3 different categories or firms. The firm who built the skeleton in concrete, like Hochtief, Philips Holzmann, and then the container industry become the skin of that living space, and then the kitchen and the toilets by Herx, the PVC. So they create plastic cells. You insert it inside They built it, but it was so expensive. So it was done as a model, but never repeated. So I show you this was so you can change even these elements. You can take it out and they can add another box. This was 1972. And I did some sketches about the private space and the public space. It was published in many German magazines. And then, for me, the very, funny moment when our Professor Benish, who won this competition, asked us he gave us as subcontract to design the visitor service, let's say, furniture, like kiosks, curtain control system. So we did a metal structure, and it was built in an aeroplane industrial plant. So it's funny that my first project was built up produced by an aeroplane near the French border. So so these are and people, when you look at it, they got shocked. What are these metal things? Because okay, we have the tent of Auto, which is very light, but this become actually this me. So these are the models which we did 1969 or 71. Now they will be presented in the Museum of Modern Architecture in Frankfurt. There will be a big museum about the architecture of that last century, and they will put these objects as part of it. So it's this is our work in Germany. It took about 3 years designing and build. I spent maybe 1 year in the stadium area. It was very funny to see how the whole thing being built, and it's the most beautiful stadium ever built in the world. I think it's so human, so it's like hills, and it's become a park. Tell me where you find now Olympic stadium which transformed to be a park. Nothing. There's just an image, impressive, but it has nothing, any relation to the human being. I mean, so that's why I talk of humanizing. I mean, this part of this humanizing the process of even by. So I get back now to 1972. I get back to Jordan. This is one of the sketch of Amman. Amman is a mountainous city, so you see the city in its fourth facade, because you see not only the skin, you see it above. I was here trying to just to in my free time to exercise some kind of a not joke, just to So here I try to by aquarelle to identify the beauty of glass or the harsh plans. Sometimes I go back to airplanes, to cars. Sometimes I make jokes about my father, my sister. So, just to you have to have sense of humor. Actually, you can't be it doesn't work. Dorma asked us and asked John Neville and Henning Larsen to make a review about their hand. So they asked me to submit some ideas. So we met in Frankfurt once, and I gave them, and then they stopped because I was so busy. So it was just done in one night, just to see, can I do also get back to something, to go more into small details of So, I mean, this is actually the part which, show you what I did. Although the German part is very serious, and for me it's very memorable because I was discovering the quality of this kind of social awareness, which we missed it now in our days. Because in our days, there's a point which I have to mention about Tamayyuz when I've been now chosen to get the lifetime achievement. Rifat, I don't know if you know Rifat Jadirji. He's one of the big Iraqi founder of the Iraqi School. He invited me to participate in the designing of the Grand Mosque in Baghdad. They invited Venturi Scott Brown, Bofill, and Takiyama, I think, and the other big architects, the Iraqi, old veteran of the Iraqi movement, and I won the first prize. So this was actually the turning point in my life, because this work was published more than 12 different languages. By coincidence, the Saudi saw my work. That's why they invite me to participate in one of the big projects in Riyadh. It was also an international competition, and I won it. So I owe the Iraqi this moment, because they gave me the chance. And yesterday I was in Coventry for Tamayuz jury, and then also I give a lecture. So they told me, you are Iraqi. I mean, although I'm Palestinian. And, you know, there's something very important. I mean, I'm a refugee. I am proud that I got the Jordanian passport. Because I'm a refugee, I'm trying to find my actual homeland. So I try to do it through my work. So when I do any opposition, any proposition about urbanity, about the house, I visualize the home for he and me at the same time. So this is actually what make my work. It's not a matter of business contract. No, you are devoted. You forget yourself, and that's why I lost a lot of money. So I am not a money maker. Yeah, it's so. In the 70s, the golden time, it was in Jordan, in Amman. It was shocking for many people how I maybe designed this. This is for the workers of the cement factory. Many people came from Iraq, from Egypt, just to look at it. Instead of making towers, I covered the whole mountain with like a blanket, you know, a human skin. And this is the staircase where people can interact. And my book has, we took this staircase as the main cover of it. Here, I just want to show you how when I did my first houses, which become very well known in the European media, in the publication, I tried to create a city. It's not a block. So this was designed in 1973. And there's another house where when you are walking here, you will be facing many unexpected events, especially, and that's why the walking becomes the event itself. So this actually part of some people maybe will stay here and spend some time talking instead of leaving the car from a car, the door of a house door. So this was also one of the early houses I did in Amman. And this book, as I said, which was published by Thames and Hudson, 2005, written by James Steele. We put two images. This is the housing of the workers in cement factory, and this actually in Solidaire. It's the first time that in Lebanon, a Palestinian took a huge land and they have been commissioned to design it. And they consider it's one of the best urban design ever done in Beirut. But it's located in a security area, you can't photograph it. So but this is actually, again, we are talking about the living skin. I hope that this skin will be maintained with the time, how you change the curtains. And so this sketch showing the wealthy people and the poor people at the same time. So it's a message how we can. And then we, after 2011, I decided to make an exhibition showing the work of my family, starting by my father, myself, my sister. She is a very famous artist. She studied in Cairo and then in Italy. She has created her own workshop. She married with a Spanish sculptor, and they live now in Barcelona. They have a atelier. They were famous through their masks. Their masks being used in one of the very famous Hollywood films. Because in Venice, they make this yearly celebration about the festival, what they call it, the mask festival, or the. And my son studied in Bartlett architecture, and my daughter studied in San Martin theater design, set design. She is also very. So we did an exhibition about the whole family in Berlin, in the foreign ministry, and it was a touring. The idea was to tell the people that we can participate in the world culture. I mean, we can add something. And many writers in Frankfurt, when they look to my work, they wrote they are witnessing the Arab Leonardo da Vinci, because I got through all kinds of exercise. I mean, about astronomy, about the plans, about the technology. This is their statement. I never thought about it. So the Germans sometimes they have this kind of poetic when they look to things. Some people start having tears when they look to my work. So it's good sometimes to get this kind of. This exhibition was a big one. It's been touring through Germany. I tried to do it through UK, but it doesn't work because you have to make reservation for some museum. So now I kept it in the warehouse. I don't know what happens with it. I mean, and it's also a sad moment. Now look how we live now. I mean, this is the way how we look to our city. This is Cairo. This is Barcelona, the container yard. So we are living in container. I mean, and imagine that a whole generation is being grown up in such environment. What kind of people you are expecting? I mean, so that's why I get feared when I look to that. And can you yeah, just as if there's no human being. I mean, as if we are like animals, like rats. I mean, yeah, I mean, and then when I mean, look to the town planner when they do plans for cities. So imagine these are the motorway and these are airway. I photographed even Frankfurt. So we are planning airway. You separate the community. If you want to move from one plot to another, you have to think many times how you can get to the other side. So it's a shame when we look to the aeroplane, what they call it, airways, and the car ways. So it supplies how our cities are inhumane, hostile. You feel self-threatened. It's not a threat. It's threatening. Look even to the existing condition. It's in Tehran. I photographed from the airplane. It's 1 quarter, which took about 1 million inhabitants, and this in Damascus. Now, when you look at it in Google, the same image, and then I draw it, it looks like this. I mean, this is the Tehran in Iran, one of the quarters in Tehran. Nothing happening here. The black is the open and the white is the mass. Here in Damascus, the black is the open space and the white is the mass. Here, there's lots of story, narrative. You spend more time to look at it. Here, you just pass away and then, okay, fine, I saw it. But here, you are driven indirectly. So that's what I want to give it a message. Look, I mean, I took this photograph from an airplane when I was flying over Saudi Arabia. Look the way how things are so organic, so it's like a siege. يعني متداخل ايش متداخل يعني بالانجليزي overlapped or interrelated or yeah. And I think it's sometimes difficult to convince our client to think in this approach. I mean, because they want to think about something commercial, something easy to build, easy to. Now, thanks God that we have Google. I mean, because I think you learn. You don't need to have a book. Just look at Google, search, and try to make this kind of comparison about the tradition, the social impact, the social tissue, and then the functional tissue, and then the power. I mean, allies. يعني كيف this is in Rabat, Dar Bayda, Casablanca. Go to Morocco. It has a it is a living school. You can learn from different. Actually, the story I want to tell you about it. It's a very funny story. When I was part of the jury team of late Hassan Fathi, but now no more Hassan Fathi, للأسف يعني. I feel sorry about it. We've been moved from Cairo airport to Alexandria through the landscape of Cairo. And suddenly I saw this image. I told the car driver, please stop, I want to make photographs. So he was angry. He told me, Rasem, you want to give the West bad image of our culture. This is shame. The driver, how we look at it. I said, no, this is the genius. So he stopped his car. He gave me a kiss on my ear, and he teared. He told me, you give confidence to us. So he started laughing. Imagine that these are the informal housing. They are so beautiful, so harmonized, it's a tissue. And this is the plan. Although the plan is very ordered in the footprint, but in the mass, there's this chaos, organic chaos, which it gives you some kind of freedom, sometimes of peace. So this was, I don't know which year. And then I was invited 2 years after to this Maspiro competition, which have get a lot of discussions about what we submitted. This is the place, a land, very, very important land in the heart of Cairo, facing the Nile, near the foreign ministry building, near the Nile Ramses Hotel. It's a very prime location. And there's a what they call it, a huge mass of informal settlement. They want to take it out and then to build houses for I don't know how, for whom, and then to make offices, towers. And so I started looking at Cairo, how it's been seen now. When you look to Cairo, 80% of the inhabitants of Cairo coming from the Said, coming from the south, coming from the farms. And the Saidi are so pure, so honest, so not like the Madani, not like the Falas people who are very corrupted, very, naughty. They think about the money. No, they came from the rural as farmers, and they built their house from mud. They are using the pigeon tower. The remain of the pigeon become a very expensive material for samad fertilizer. So they are living on that. So I thought maybe I have to think about these towers to become part of the image. People, some Egyptian community, you are dehumiliating our culture. We're talking about the Mamluk here. Okay, the base has some kind of a Muhammad Ali, but the lighter one is more for those people who came from outside and want to live in that. So I did this kind of exercise. Our work was being refused. From the jury, because they think that it gives bad image of Egypt. They want something like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, glass houses, and this actually and the winning project was a bit more to that direction towards. So I was just showing the beauty of that. You can improve. You can create a technology about this concrete. So the images which I present to you, the very first one about the informal housing. Before I get in this competition, I start doing exercise about how I can improve the skeleton, improve the facade, to make it more modern, to become more contemporary, before we've been invited to this competition. So this was actually a pre-study 2 years before. So this way I was ready for it. And I told my team, we are submitting a losing project from the beginning. And I love it, I like it. So till now, we did a lot of discussion in many private universities. Many actors, they like Yusra and Muhammad, who care for. He is now in contact with me. He is very encouraged to do something in that direction. Muhammad Sulhiya. So after we lost the competition, I started developing the Mashrabiya. To create, to produce some kind of a catalog so people can buy it and put it in their home. that's an idea. After we lost it, I got more encouraged to do more about it. Even we thought to use the air velocity, the air movement, which should become here very strong to make to produce electricity to a fan. So, and even the existing foreign ministry, how we can wrap it by having to make this kind of respecting the condition and to make it much more. So this is actually the how we look at it as to keep the people in their place. These are the offices facing the high road, and then this is the Hilton. These are some hotels, and then they ask us to make a sign. So we put this pigeon tower to become part of it, part of this. And here you can see how you can play with the facade. You can change it, and here showing exactly the tissue, the fabric, where the rich have their own spine, the poor have their own spine, and intermediate there's a spine where people can get together, where you have the soup. So the rich people meet the poor one in that market. So they become more in common with each other. So I give it a slogan. It's an ethical project, about ethics, values, not just a commercial one. I don't know what happens now. Maybe you know better about. I know. Yeah. Even I met the lady. She was the one who we cared for the community. Her name is Rehab, and she is now with me in the YouTube. Rasem told me, Rasem, I cry because something is lost in their life, because they lived in such, look at this. This is inside this informant. When you go inside, they try to greet you. Come, mister, come and sit with us, have a tea. So it's the big saloon. I mean, this is what I meant. So I did some sketches on that, what we proposed, and sometimes we can change. So it's as if we are saying that this value is being kept, and we try to enhance it, to revitalize it, not to kill it, because of the money. Now, what happens now? Money becomes the dominance in our life, and it kills our soul, our values, our human coexistence. We became شيء إيش معنى شيء يعني something not human يعني تشيء in Arabic language إيش معنى تشيء بالإنجليزي صعبة يعني we become figures without soul. I'm asking for creating figures with soul. Yeah. My son was invited to a competition to a proposal of an investor who lived in Dubai. This was maybe 10 years back, a Pakistani. He wanted to build a civic center in mid-Karachi between the informal slums and the very formal. So he went there, and this was his work. Because I have also to say that I have my office, my son has his office, and sometimes we work together. And it's good sometimes to think about what happens between the two generations. Sometimes we fight, sometimes we get angry, sometimes we can't eat. But I think this is funny because through this moment, you create a lot of things, being open to you, to think about more, not to look at it in one direction. So, look, I mean, this exercise, you can hardly find it in the master plan. It's disappeared. If it's a Euclidean block, you can easily find it. But here, sometimes you lost this. Actually, our aim was to be lost. And this was studied according to the people who moves from that part to this official, where we have the governmental side. And so we did some what they call it, يعني تقديرات. إيش بسموها تقديرات يعني? Yeah, no, assumption. Yeah, that's to create a story, how people move. And we went in that inside. It's empty. So we start, defining the public realm, how it can cope with both sides. The client wanted to block this informal settlement. I told them, no, let people go inside to reach their target in the other. So this was actually one of the proposals, and then suddenly the client disappeared. We couldn't find him, and that's it. I mean, this is, and actually it happens many times with us. We start working, and then another work which I think is very important, and still it's very, very crucial, the holy city Mecca. I mean, Mecca is a controversial subject. People are confused. What happens in this holy place? We've been invited to make a proposal. It was an international competition for one of the mountains facing the Holy Mosque. So this was our proposition, but it was refused, and it was never published. Now the funny thing, many American firms, when they propose put some kind of notion of understanding our culture, they use these sketches, which I will show to you in my book. So it's sometimes when you present ideas, and when you know who won the project, you start crying. I mean, why they choose? So I did study about the Mecca architecture and how I can improve this what they call it ecological skin, because you need air to go through the rooms. Also, you are creating privacy with this mashrabiyah. So I enjoy it. You can find it in my book if you can find my book. It's very, very well presented. And here I put the story about how we think about this was the actual mountain. These are, I think there's 500,000 are living in that mountain. And here are the quartiers, the living quartiers from Sudan, Ethiopia, Pakistan. So we start defining the size of the community block. And we try now to how we can consider it in our proposal. So this is actually the different steps till we reach a target to create this kind of public, what do you call it? Vein, yeah, with the sub-vein. So that's why some American firms, when they put some, let's say, proposition about did they understand the culture, they put some of these sketches and they refer to my book. So this Mecca, how it was in the past. Now, sadly, I have a big image about the whole image, but my son took only this one. I mean, I have to show these are the facades, non-facade. These are the hotels. So as if they are rocks. So it was somebody told me, as if, Rasem, you are putting your style. No, not my style. I'm making dialogue with the mountain. They don't want to have the city, because usually they put the master plan, they sell it for investors, and each one has to build his own. So you get a salad, mishmash. And this is what happened in Mecca. Although I love the Saudis, they are my friends, but sometimes they lose the track. Now, there's another story, very funny story. This is Medina. This is the other city, the holy city of Medina. They asked us 10 years back to develop a big shopping mall here. And I told them, okay, but this road, I don't like this road. This is too long. It's like an airplane runway. I mean, the city of Muhammad has to be more human. I mean, it's not a... So can you can you break it a bit so that in each break you create a node? So while you are driving, you will be attached to this node. So you memorize it. But when you are passing through the 4 kilometers, there's no memory. And the problem is that in modern city, there's no memory. You go through with your car, and you see nothing. I think the city of value, when city become memorized in your mind, this is actually the city, and this is what you are trying to achieve. So they told me, you are dreaming. No, we can't give you the job. So this was actually our proposition to break this linearity, and in each place there's something happening, and even the pedestrian network was fragmented. Here we are trying to create a story. I don't know how I mean, they get offended when you tell them. They tell me, it's not your business. You have to only design this. I want to design in context. In the International Academy of Architects, they told me you are one of the few architects in the world who care for contextual thinking, how to think about the concept, how it reflects to the neighbor, and neighbor how it reflects to you. I mean, this kind of what do you call it, hint and back. I mean, this is actually urbanity. We are doing now. We are possessed by isolation. You did your icon object without caring about what happens around it. And sadly, this is what happens now. So we've been asked. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. After 10 years, they told us, okay, take this part here and try to do something. So this was last week. Yeah, this is fresh, although I can't publish, but just to see how far we are now going in this process. So they gave us a master plan, which was just roughly provided, showing the amount of areas, the functions, and this was the public realm. So I told them, okay, if I want to take this part and to study it architecturally, I have to take the whole part and then just to redesign the public space, the public realm. So what happens actually, this was the existing brief. This was our brief. And I got the blessing from Amir of Medina, Prince Faisal. He's a Harvard graduate, very brilliant son of King Salman. He told me, okay, I like the idea. So this was actually our first, and it's now in the process. Maybe later on we can show it to you how it. So we get back to what Hussam mentioned in his introduction about my story with Riyadh, 1985, when I been invited to design the downtown Riyadh. My worry was about not about the building, about the public space. In the brief, there was only a mosque. They invited Bufil, Benturi, and Abdul Wakil. And I was violating the program. I told them I want to add another function. So I added a commercial belt and with multifunctional to make a living skin. I don't want to end up by a temple. So the mosque was wrapped by this interactive skin. And when the Arkan did review, he told me the funny thing is that there's no mosque. Like the mosque in Fas, Qarawiyyin, when you go inside the Fas, I don't know if you visit many Fas, you never see the mosque from outside. You go through a very narrow alley, 2 meters, and then suddenly you go inside the plaza or the courtyard. You go, oh, mashallah. Yani, you don't be scared by the huge mass, by the temple-like or the what do you call it, iconic. Nowadays they tell us we want something iconic. Yeah. So I enjoy doing sketches, how we make this dialogue between the mosque and the existing fabric. And look what happened now in the Sahel. It has changed the habit of the city. On Friday and weekend, many people come. They spend the whole night making picnic. You create another community in this. This is like Al-Maghrib and Marrakesh. This is Marrakesh. So I was comparing, or even when these are sketches done in the hotel when I was there. And so I get back and just I was worried about how I create a city, how the mosque become a city, not a mosque for itself. And actually, it happens in most of my work, how I urbanize the architecture in the mass to make it more to distracted, to create this dialogue between void and solid. So this actually the atmosphere of the people when they are finishing with their prayer or when they are entering the mosque. So you feel music from one side. I mean, you enjoy having and even climatically, it has a very nice quality. You have a breeze of air. The heat becomes sometimes 62, 65 in summer. Another work which is, this was award actually the Iraqi award. The other work which complement this development is again in the old city of Riyadh, is the King Abdulaziz Center. It's the biggest museum in the Arab world till now. It was an international competition. They invited large firms. I don't want to mention the name. And I was jury with two guys from Harvard, MIT, and we spent for 4 projects more than 1 week to decide who's the winner. We couldn't find anyone because they proposed a mass of 300 meters long. So, I mean, you are blocking the city. You are making like a dam. I mean, so the client or the ADA, which is one of the very, very advanced institution in city development, it was founded by King Salman, who was Prince of Riyadh. They care for this project, and I told the CEO, we can't find anyone who can win. But there's someone who is a bit sensitive, but he has still provided a mass. This is what Shimo Muriyama, the Canadian-Japanese architect. So the client told me, okay, Rasem, why you don't propose a concept? So I proposed a city. This was our proposal, showing the different track, different space, and how we can finish this with trees so that you create a climatized walkway. And actually, this green approach park become the main attraction for the whole museum. People at weekend, they go there to spend their time, to cook, to make their picnic. They don't care for the museum. I found this very important. So this was actually the idea, how we give another perception. The museum become a park. You can buy, you can sit, you can see, look to the different museums section, but if you want. But if you don't, you stay, play with your kids. And here, even some of the museum, let's say, volumes or rooms, we envision the house, the old house, how the old house become a museum. So this is actually a modern house for the for the first time I'm designing now structural metal, and this actually done by Canadian exhibit designers. The people like this image. They go inside, they feel themselves as if they are in a house, not in a museum. And this the entrance. The entrance is a big story. I just need to actually lecture how I envision the entrance of such. And actually, just look to the plan. It's fractal. It's fractions. It's not a block. Comparing to what we submitted in 1998, the Museum for Islamic Art in Doha. This was our winning project, where Zaha also submit her proposal, and Mr. Georges and Charles Korea and Bohegas, and we got the job. We signed the contract. We spent 2 years making all kinds of documents, and then suddenly they told us we have, please wait for 1 year. After 1 year, we discovered that they have chosen another site, and they give it to IMP. Sadly, IMP took the pollution block of Ibn Tulun Mosque to become the metaphor of that museum. I mean, it's يعني إيش معناته إهانة بعتبرها يعني it's an pollution object become the museum. Here you are talking about the city. You go inside, and this actually the remains of the old city of Doha, which was we could find it by old British documents in 1993, but the land is empty. So we took this as part of the interior. We worked with the British film Event. They liked the idea to create a city, become the let's say the interior of that museum. Now the last project, which I think it's very, very important, also with the same client in Riyadh, I'm talking about the client where I started working with them 1985 till now. The ADA, Riyadh Development Authority. They invite us, they ask us to design, to revitalize a place which is very historically known, facing the village where Saudi family been born in that village at the Riyadh. This became actually, so most of my projects have to do with the Saudi Foundation. I mean, it's funny. I mean, so when Obama visited Riyadh, he go to all these places. When Trump came to Riyadh, they let him visit all these because they think that this is proud. I mean, so here we did something very interesting. It's a shopping area with entertainment. It's the old village. We tried to make it again, but not at the same footprint. But we give the spirit of the space. We did some kind of comparison between the old mud village, which become a living museum. It's the biggest mud museum in the world, registered in the World Heritage, and worked by Canadian experts. So in that one of the elements was the what they call it, the Center of Islamic Study and Museum. According to the brief, the building has to be 3-floor high building. So what we did, we embedded it in the ground, so that we respect the opposite situated mud city. So this becomes like a platform, like a theater. So you can walk on the roof of it and look overlooking the mud city. That's why I call it building in context. I mean, so I think this actually has created a lot of encouragement by many young architects to think about the roof as the fifth facade. Actually, roofs being used in the past as living space. I don't know if you can follow the old in Baghdad, in Aleppo, because it's hot. So now this time it's become a plaza. It's 200 meter long. You can reach the height of 20 meter. And sometimes people lie on that and sleep. They want to look to the sky. I mean, and some people pray. Some young ladies. I mean, they love it. And out of this project, a huge project being now developed called Abdelaya Gate. It's a huge city facing this part. So I want to show here. This is the old mud city, and this is what we did. There's a dialogue between them. This is designed by a German landscape who worked in the Munich Olympic 40 years back. I mean, it's funny that we meet again in Riyadh. Yeah, we get families of relationship, how we can get together to do something for the humanity. So people are walking, they enjoy it. And they are overlooking the old city. They can even watch the sight and light and sound program at night when they have some festival programs. This is the work of the German. It's an oasis. This is the work of my son. A client came to us. They show us, but I can't put it here now, a glass tower, like silos. So the young guy told us, I mean, look what we have got. Can you change it? So we did a study. It's a city. It's a living. It's apartments with a gym, restaurants, kindergarten, library, and so this becomes the first building in the Gulf region where you see that you have a vertical city. It's very complicated. And people are really eager to see what happens with this building here. So it's now in the progress. So I hope that in 1 year, 2 years, it will be finished. It will be all stone. It's typical. It represents also the Riyadhi image, how we look to high skyscraper as a vertical city. There's gardens here, courtyards. It's very complicated. I hope that nothing happened. That they did wind tunnel investigation because it's very complicated. It's about 8-meter cantilever. So it's So I hope that my son will be happy by doing such kind of now I go back now to something else, to Malaysia. This is the International University. Did you get tired, or shall I make it short? Yeah. 3 minutes. Yeah, خلاص. Okay. 3 minutes. Yeah. Okay. This in Malaysia, we did it with Abdul Halim. This is the International Islamic University. It's about 1.5 kilometer campus. I got it from the Google. I want to show you the open spaces, how they look like. The original concept was a linear one, so we did anti-linear. So this is actually the idea of this is actually the image which you have seen in the first page. Here we are talking about the valleys in the Sahara, in the Jordanian Sahara, and these are the sand dunes. So I overlaid both above each other, and I create the Sahara city, just actually taken from the airplane. Just, sometimes you make some jokes with yourself. I mean, I think, and many Saudis like the image. They're like, why you don't make cities in the desert, in that taking this morphing. So again, water, desert. What happens with areas where we worked in that? So this actually the valleys. This is the area. This actually needs a whole structure. I mean, this is facing our project, which I showed to you. This slant roof with the now this is in UAE, between Dubai and Abu Dhabi. It's a huge city facing the Gulf. They call it the Riviera. This was the master plan of it. It's about 3 kilometer by 3 kilometer spot with villas. They asked us to design some villas here, but before we designed the villas, we told them, I don't like the way how you dealt with the fabric. So why you don't think about getting something in the desert which would co-op with the valley? It was already finished. I mean, so they spent 1 week thinking, and they told Rasem, okay, I think you convinced us. I mean, I'm happy that after they finished the whole documents for this, they repeated it, and this was my sketch about the story, how you start from the desert to the Waha to the garden to the seaside. And then in our contract, they told me, Rasem, we want you freehand sketch. So I start sketching in ink this master plan, and then we saw that this is the blank land, and this is the level of reason of vitality by having water to make land more valuable. And then I tried to violate the master plan which was prepared by them by creating some kind of community. And my son designed this part here. This was my son's work, which is this one. I mean, and I think it will be built, I hope. It was published, it was visited in Dubai Cityscape and Abu Dhabi Cityscape. It was the major object in that event. I think finally, this was another competition we won it in Dubai. It has to do with the water, how we morph sand, how we morph the water interaction with the sand. And this actually the last work I want to show it to you. This is my son's work in Dubai. It's the Museum of Archaeology. It reminds us maybe in the work which we did in Riyadh, but this is much more complicated. It's like sand dunes because these artifacts being founded under the sand. So that's why we thought, okay, why we don't get the story of these artifacts, how they've been found 5,000 years old. So this actually, from the land side, how you see these sand dunes, you can walk above it, you can see inside. And this last image, I know that, you told me that you take your time. Okay, so maybe I talk too much. And this was actually very, we won the competition. Second was Toshiya Muriyama, but never was built. I mean, I think they asked for Calatrava. I mean, I don't know why. So from the other side, it reminds us on the ships, because these become the traders through water, how they can, from this side you have the desert, from this side you have the ships. And that's it. I think, sorry that I've been talking too much. I hope that you got the message. Still, we are trying to find other messages. I mean, still we are working hard, and sometimes I'm not so happy with what's going on, but I think people are starting in the Arab world take us seriously because we are giving values. I mean, instead of just. Thank you for your patience.